Even though the Ukrainian and Western media try to avoid a detailed discussion of yesterday's massive Russian missile attack, experts and independent journalists continue to touch on this topic, calling the Russian missile strike the most powerful and massive since the beginning of the special military operation. Let me remind you that yesterday, almost all regions of Ukraine were subjected to missile strikes from dozens of Russian strategic bombers and warships, located in the waters of the Caspian and Black Seas. The air alert sounded for 24 hours not only in all cities of southern and central Ukraine, but even in its western part. Hundreds of cruise missiles of various types were involved in this missile attack, ranging from the Kh-101 to the Kh-59. Dozens of jet-powered Geranium kamikaze drones also took an active part in this missile attack. According to the Russian military department, all targets were successfully hit and destroyed. Moreover, independent monitoring services as well as numerous witnesses also stated that most of the Russian missiles still managed to hit their targets. At the same time, experts noted that for the first time, Ukrainian air defense systems were unable to shoot down a single missile in Kyiv's airspace. This was largely because Russia used a new tactic of a missile attack on the Ukrainian capital. It turned out that Russian cruise missiles headed for Kyiv along the Dnieper riverbed, moving at extremely low altitudes. As a result, the Ukrainian air defense systems in Kyiv were powerless, and could not shoot down even one missile. Moreover, experts also drew attention to the large number of missile strikes on the western part of Ukraine. Almost all cities in western Ukraine were subjected to missile attacks, including a city like Sambyr, located 40 kilometers from the Polish border. Moreover, a missile strike was also carried out on the Yavoriv military base, where not only warehouses with Western weapons, but also foreign mercenaries were located. According to Russian sources, as a result of this missile strike, warehouses with Western weapons and dozens of NATO military instructors were destroyed. Surprisingly, just a few hours after the missile attack on the Yavoriv military base in western Ukraine, the United States announced that the military helicopter Sikorsky CH-53E Super Stallion crashed in Pine Valley, California. According to the U.S. military, there were 5 U.S. Marine Corps officers on board the helicopter. Moreover, it was announced that the bodies of the dead officers had not yet been found, and that rescue services were allegedly combing the area around the crashed helicopter in search of the bodies of the dead. Later, rescue services declared that the remains of the crew members were found, and that the deaths of all 5 U.S. Marines were confirmed. Let me remind you that this is far from the first case when, after the massive Russian missile strike on Ukraine, the West claims accidents, helicopter and plane crashes, as a result of which high-ranking officers of NATO countries are killed. For example, in July 2023, after the Russian Iskander ballistic missiles destroyed the building of the Security Service of Ukraine in Dnipropetrovsk, the United States announced the death of U.S. Army General Anthony Potts in a plane crash. In the United States, they declared that the general allegedly died while piloting a Piper PA-28 Cherokee aircraft. Moreover, a month later, after Russia destroyed the headquarters of the armed forces of Ukraine near Kharkiv, France announced the death of General Jean-Louis Georgelin. In Paris, they said that the general allegedly died as a result of a fall from a mountain in the Pyrenees. At the same time, it is worth noting that such accidents with high-ranking NATO officers arouse suspicion even among Western journalists. Even many Western journalists claim that NATO countries are suffering significant losses in manpower in Ukraine, and in order not to provoke public anger, the authorities of Western countries have to constantly invent all sorts of stories, trying to convince the public that NATO generals like to walk in the mountains and fly private planes all alone, as a result of which such accidents allegedly occur, leading to their deaths.